Hello everybody, welcome back to Kanga TV, home of North Melbourne fans, and when I tell you this is the 6th time I have filmed this intro, you know I'm feeling a little bit rusty from the break and from the bye, but that is all in the past now. We are looking ahead to North Melbourne's second half of season 2025 and we are kickstarting it with our 2-week stint over in WA, and we play West Coast on Sunday afternoon at our new home away from home, Hands Oval in Bunbury. It's the second time in 2025 that we have played West Coast over there, of course, faced them in a nail-biting clash in the pre-season, and now we are ready for the real deal. I can't wait to see what North are going to deliver in the second half of season 2025, hopefully up the intensity, up the ante, and bring home a few more 4 points to Arden Street, and no better way to start it than this Sunday afternoon against West Coast. There is quite a bit to unpack, so let's not waste any more time. Let's dive straight into the round 13 preview. I've had a little bit of time to process the first half of season 2025. I had some great chats with some friends of mine. All of those videos are now up on the channel. I did sit down and film a video last week just to kind of unpack my thoughts a little bit about North and where we're sitting at the halfway mark of season 2025. I think for me, the biggest thing is we need a bit of a shift in attitude as a whole. And what I mean by that is, yes, we did win 2 games in the first half of season 2025. We also had that draw against Brisbane. Compare that to 12 months ago, we didn't win a game in the first half of last season. The improvement is there from a win-loss perspective. The improvement is there from a percentage perspective, and a lot more competitive in games and being able to stay in games for much longer periods of time. But I think we need a bit of a mindset shift in the second half of the season, and rather than trying to not lose games of footy, we need to go into the mentality that we're going to win games of footy. And what I mean by that is, so often we have started games on the back foot. We've only won a first quarter once this season, and that was against Richmond. But in that game, we almost panicked being the ones that were hunted rather than being the ones that were hunting, and we really struggled in a winning position. It seems like for North, we are almost motivated when we are the underdogs and when we do start on the back foot, but then so often we either run out of steam by the end of the game, or our opposition has already put themselves in a position that is too good for us to be able to catch up to, and we end up falling short. And we have fallen short for quite a few times so far this season. I feel like whenever North get in a position where we can win the game, we just don't, if that makes sense. Rather, we're in a position where we don't want to lose it. We're trying to play catch up. We're trying to chase our tails a little bit. It's making life really, really difficult for North. And if there's one thing that I hope we can kind of do, an opportunity that we can take in the second half of the year, is just try and win more games of footy, and not in the fact of get the 4 points, but actually put ourselves in positions where we can win games and then hold it, rather than, like I said, starting on the back foot and not lose a game. Because I think that is the growth, the mental growth that we will see and have, and will put us in better position long term to be able to win more games season on season. So that's kind of the one thing I've taken away, and it's not really something I've spoken about over the past couple of weeks with the bye and all the reflecting I've done. It's sort of something I've kind of thought about over the last sort of 48 hours or so, and I'd like to see us heading into this game and harness that mindset against West Coast, because this is a game we should be winning. And a few people I've spoken to over the past couple of weeks say this is a game we should be winning by a lot. West Coast have looked off the pace for most of the year compared to the rest of the competition. They are also without a host of stars. Jake Waterman obviously not playing, Jeremy McGovern not playing, Liam Ryan this week looks to be under a doubt as well. So there are some gaping holes in a side that is already lingering down the bottom of the ladder and just won that one game for the year. So we should be able to pounce. We should be able to capitalize on West Coast's poor form and also the lack of players in that side. But For North Melbourne, our biggest issue is when we've been in a winning position, either heading into a game like we were against Richmond, even in that first quarter against Richmond, that's where we start to crumble. So I think if there's no better time to adopt that mindset and to go into a game with that mindset than on Sunday afternoon. Our recent encounters with West Coast have been nothing short of nail-biting, nothing short of a seesawing affair, and quite unpredictable. We are just about an even ledger with West Coast over the past few seasons. They have been an even opponent for us over the past few years, just given where both sides have been sitting on the ladder. I did do a video with Jesse from True Footy and True Eagle at the end of last year, and I will leave a link to that chat in the description as well, because it is quite relevant heading into this weekend's game. But I think both North and West Coast fans will look at this fixture and think, yeah, we're definitely a chance to win this game. And I think that is what has brought out these super competitive contests. They're not always pretty, but they definitely are always entertaining and heart stoppers, and we always do walk away with a game and a contest to remember. I have no doubt that Sunday's game will be the same. Despite West Coast missing a few key personnel, we have been inconsistent at the best of times. Our best footy should be good enough to get it done, but you just never know with North Melbourne, and like I said, you just don't know what kind of North Melbourne is going to be walking into this game. Having said that, I'm feeling good. I really do think that we are looking for an upwards trajectory in the second half of the year. I think all of the setting zones and all of the bits and pieces are now in place for us to really have a strong second half of the year. We have a relatively clean bill of health. There's no suspensions on the horizon at the moment anyway. So I think we should be able to field a really strong side, and hopefully Harry Sheasel did talk about this on radio during the week, that some players have been playing in 3 to 4 different positions in one game and over the course of the first half of the year, whereas in the second half of the year we're going to be looking to really lock guys in positions, and hopefully a little bit more continuity amongst players, amongst positions, amongst roles, and a little bit more sustainability will help us across the board, and hopefully just help with the synergy and the chemistry amongst the 23 that take the field each week, and again translate into more wins. That can only hold us in good stead. In terms of personnel, and I'm filming this the day before the extended team will come out, there are 2 names I'm really interested to see if they will appear, and that is Cooper Harvey and Will Phillips. I think both of them have had some really consistent form in the VFL over the past few weeks, and I think that both of them have done enough to suggest that they will at least be a shoe-in for this game, potentially a look-in, and maybe they will find themselves in the 23 by the end of Friday. I think both of them do warrant an opportunity to show us what they're made of. Will Phillips in particular, he is in and out of the side. It kind of has been the role that he has, and position, I guess, he's found himself in over the past few seasons. And I do feel sorry for Will Phil. I do think that he's a victim of only really being able to play the one position. And I think defensively, we know what he can do, but offensively, maybe he's not offering enough. Having said that, his game against Collingwood in the VFL a couple of weeks ago, he had 35 touches. So there's not really much more he actually can do to put in a case for senior selection. I really do hope we see him return. If it's not over in WA, it is at some point before the end of the year for a bit of game time, a few games just to give him a bit of confidence, give him a good run, and just see what he can do. Cooper Harvey is the other one. I've loved what Jacob Constanti has brought to this side, especially from a defensive pressure element. He has also hit the scoreboard in most games this season, but Cooper Harvey has been getting multiple games with multiple goals kicked in these games. So I do think that we are looking to test out the small forwards that we do have on the list. None of them, with the exception of Constanti and I guess Paul Curtis as well, have been a lock in this side over season 2025. We've obviously just recruited Zach Banch from Werribee over the mid-season draft as well. So there are a lot of spots that we do need to cull at the end of the year, and now is the time we're going to start seeing some of these fringe players come back into the side and get their opportunity. I don't personally like changing too much if we don't need to. I think there is beauty in consistency amongst the personnel we have week in, week out, and I have said that all year, but I do understand the importance of giving some of these guys a run at senior level, because this might be the last opportunity they get and we get to see how they perform It's almost like a final audition to keep your list spot. We are going to be losing 2 rookie spots at the end of the year, and there's a host of players out of contract at the end of the year. I think we'd be looking to cut between 6 to 8 players, and there's quite a few guys on the fence. You could keep them for depth, but also there is a world where they're not at North Melbourne next year, which is also probably my worst time of year, and I didn't want to think about that. So there are a lot of moving parts. Eddie Ford potentially could find his way into the side. He's had a really good couple of weeks in defence. He's only played the 2 weeks and the 2 games in the back line. Give him a go. Like, I have no issue with it. It's just finding a balance between who stays and what changes we do make. You don't want to disrupt it too much, because for the most part it has been working ever since that Good Friday game, with the exception of the half against Collingwood, the second half. It's been pretty good otherwise, and I don't think many people could argue with that. So I'm reluctant to make too many changes, but there are a couple of guys who should be pushing for selection. No Jackson Archer in the senior side this week, but he is looking to be about 3 to 4 weeks ahead of schedule. He will make his return through the VFL on managed minutes, but hopefully we'll have him back in the senior side in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I don't know who else we could be looking at to bring in from an injury perspective. It would be nice to see Josh Goda at some point this year, but he's just been hit with another setback in his road to recovery from that Achilles injury. Braden George is the other one. It'd be great to see him debut before the end of the year, and it's where do you play him as well? I mean, Constanti is probably the role that is vulnerable if we're looking to bring in Braden George, but I think Constanti's done enough to keep his spot. So there are a lot of moving parts. There are a lot of question marks. You also got to worry about what we do with that third tall ruck role. Has Finbar done enough to hold his spot? Do we want to bring in someone like Bryn Teakle and give him a run of 3 or 4 games because he comes out of contract at the end of the year? Have we seen enough from Finbar to suggest he will be on the list next year? Well, we know he will be. He has been awarded with a contract extension. So do we keep rewarding the form? And what he offers up forward is a really solid contested mark overhead, which is something that we do need in this side because we just bomb the ball in long so often, and Larky and Darling are more of a lead up forward rather than that high jumping contested marker that Finbar does offer. And that's something I love about Finbar, and that's what I've loved him being able to bring to our forward line. But Teakle might need a run at it. Maybe we do need someone to chop Sherry out and allow Darling to stay in the forward line 100% of the time. I do think that's where we do get the best out of Jack Darling. It's not to say that he's terrible in the ruck. I just think from a team perspective and from a structure perspective, it's more to our detriment as a whole when he is taken out of the forward line, and his best quarters is when he spent majority of the time in the forward line. So judging on those numbers and that form, I would suggest that's something I would be looking to do. So whether Finbar goes into the ruck to chop Sherry out in the second half of the year, whether it's Teakle, whether it's someone else, I don't know. But I would be hoping that we keep Jack Darling in the forward line. There were stats released earlier this week about the most effective one-on-one players in the forward line, and Jack Darling was in the top 10 for effectiveness. It's no surprise. He is just so strong in the body, such a smart footballer, and he's really transformed our forward line, I think, in the way it's looked so far this season. So there's a lot to talk about, and I feel like the Collingwood game was so long ago, I've almost forgotten who and what and how. All I know is that we need to look at this game and we've got to find a way to win it, not lose it. We have to proactively win the game rather than defensively not lose it, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. And I think that's kind of got to be the mentality in the second half of the year. We've got to be a little bit more daring. We have to be a little bit more creative and exciting. I understand the need to maintain possession and move the ball controlled and methodically up the ground, but we just don't have a lot of spark and a lot of run, and we do look our most threatening and our most dangerous when we are moving the ball quickly, rebounding it out of defence. So let's hope we see a little bit more North ball in action over in Bunbury. In terms of an off-field perspective with Bunbury, we are rumoured to be making about $7.5 million over 3 years with this deal over in WA. It's substantially more money than we are getting out of the deal in Tasmania, where we're playing double the amount of games. I also think it's important to note that North don't generate any revenue from pokies, and we haven't for a very, very long time. So we do need to look at alternate revenue streams. And if we are just selling 2 games over in WA, where we have to go to Perth at least once, if not twice, in a season anyway, I'm not mad about it. It's better than selling 4 home games elsewhere. I do really feel for Tassie fans, and like I said, I feel like they've had the rug pulled up from underneath them. And I did say that at the time when the deal was sort of being floated around, there was minimal communication to fans down there, and I suspect that some of them would look to cancel the membership at the end of the year, just given how all this has unfolded, and I wouldn't blame them. But from an off-field perspective, I think it's great financially. I think it's great for fans over in WA. I think it's great. It's something we have to do, capitalizing on something we have to do anyway. So let's just do it. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, and I think that it's something that we can really look to build on in the future in terms of being able to generate great revenue and hopefully bring more games back to Melbourne and eventually all home games here in Melbourne. I think that's something I would like to see, and I'm sure there's plenty of fans who would like to see that as well. So it's an experiment. Let's see if we can build a fortress over in WA. Tasmania was a real fortress for us in the early days, and as our form has sort of started to dwindle, so has that record down in Tassie. So let's hope we can strengthen our relationship with our new home away from home and hit some strong form from the get-go. I think it would make a really, really big statement if we can go over and win our first game over in Bunbury. That would be awesome. It would give us a lot of confidence heading into the second game against Fremantle at Optus before returning back to Melbourne. How are you guys feeling ahead of the game? Are you excited that footy's back? How do you think we're going to go at our new home away from home? Leave all of your thoughts in the comments below. Can't wait to hear from you guys if you are traveling over to Bunbury as well. We can chat all about it over on socials as well. Kanga TV show on Facebook, Instagram, X, and email as well. If you have anything more you'd like to say, I'll be back in the next couple of days when the teams are announced. We can talk about those. We can talk about any last minute news to wrap up the week. And then we're going to look ahead to Sunday's clash. For those of you who do want to watch the game along with me, I will be joining the boys over on True Footy for their live stream footy from the flat. I have done it before. It's lots of fun. Dylan Alexander will be there. He's a great friend of mine and a great friend of the channel. Jesse will also be joining from True Footy and True Eagle. So it's definitely going to be a very entertaining watch, I would say, and probably a very animated watch, dare I say. So we'll be over on True Footy on Sunday. If you guys are keen to watch that, I look forward to seeing you either later in the week on the channel or over on the weekend over on True Footy. I will speak to you all very, very soon. Go Roos.